Greetings, everyone. I interrupt my own show before it even begins, before we even roll into the normal intro for an important announcement, something I didn't say during the show. I should have tried to make clear. I am not questioning Koshy and Sheeba, who will be my guests in this episode, but the issue of racism comes up and is, of course, a major concern with the left and identity politics, race baiting, and race hustlers who make their living trying to keep the notion of racism alive. And we all know it is nowhere near as bad as it used to be in the Jim Crow days, which is, of course, laws created by the left. And as Candace Owens says, the left are still indeed racist and created, as she says, if you don't know, she's a black liberal. I won't call her a conservative, though she has, as she said, left the demo KKK rat economic plantation. They still want a plantation. It's just an economic one now, and she's left it. I wouldn't call her conservative, but thankfully she's left the liberal left demo KKK rat economic plantation. So yes, racism certainly exists. I'm certainly not going to say there aren't any racists out there. The next important thing is racism itself is a cultural Marxist construct. I speak on that with Kevin McGeary on the October special 2 that dropped on Tuesday, this dropping on Thursday, about that. We are one human race, period. Different skin tones don't make us different races. We are one human race. We are indeed separate and different regional subcultures and subclasses. But since, unfortunately, we've caved to the left on yet another thing and a word, racism is part of our vernacular, we will stick with that. But Koshy was interviewed by someone at Every Black Life Matters the other day. You can find that video. And the issue of hoaxes was part of the beginning of that, and indeed an insertion that I need make here. So yes, racism exists, nowhere near the way the left wing and the media want you to believe it still does, but it does exist. But indeed, we also have to be clear and recognize this, like the Jussie Smollett and other race hustling, race baiting hoaxes. I in no way, shape, or form am saying what you're going to hear here is a hoax. It is real. I believe Koshy and Sheeba wholeheartedly, but I try to actually be a journalist and ask the hard, tough questions, something the left and the media never does. So how much is race actual motivating and mitigating factor here in this dispute, or how much of it is just this idiot using racial slurs as part of his intimidation and bullying factor? I leave that to you, the audience, to decide, but in no way is this a hoax. How much race is any real driving factor can remain to be seen. And again, I leave for you to decide. And again, yes, repeating, just because this may or may not be actually racially motivated, but the slurs used as an intimidation factor or not, doesn't discount that there are indeed racists, I can't talk again, racists and racism that goes on out there, just nowhere near as much as the left to peddle their race-baiting, race-hustling, and identity politics games would allege. Thank you all. Let's get into the show. Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with TheLibertyBeacon.com, and I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show! Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of ChristiTutionalist Politics. This, a little behind the scenes, hastily put together. Normally, my regulars know I have health issues, so weeks planning usually go into a show so that because of my health, I can spend little time here and there when I'm feeling well and have the energy, to do research or record or do editing and preparation so that my guest shows normally drop on Wednesday and my monologue shows normally drop every Saturday. So I'm ready. Those are the two hard days I've got coded, right? Wednesday morning and Saturday morning, I gotta be ready to do that. And, but today is a hastily put together thing. And here's why. Again, I like, behind the scenes, and I like being up front with my audience. Normally I have weeks to somewhat prepare a little here and there. Today, not so much. So, hopefully the show won't suffer for it. I don't think it will. I think we'll be okay. But this week I was planning on having Kevin McGeary of Every Black Life Matters on as a guest. Would normally drop Wednesday, October the 9th. Well, today, as we're talking, is Tuesday, October the 8th. And I got an alarming email from the Every Black Life Matters crew today, and it threw everything in a tizzy today. So I rushed out the Kevin show Tuesday, October the 8th, so I can record with my guests here so I could drop them on Thursday, October the 10th, as it relates to EBLM. And also, I recently recorded with Dr. Jennifer Matthews a Criminal Justice Corner show, and why that will relate, I'll wait and get into a little later. So I hope you'll listen to that show. All these shows this week, I'm not sure what date that will actually drop. But at any rate, there's kind of the setup. So I'm a little kind of stressed here today. But welcome to the show, Koshy and Sheeba George. How are you?
Well, good evening, Joseph. We are happy and glad here in San Jose, California, all the way on the West Coast.
Okay, and Sheeba, how you doing today?
Hey, just got back from work, doing okay.
And I understand we're squeezing this in before Bible study. So
I agree, yeah.
Hastily thrown together so we can make this work. Thank you both for your time. And again, this is relating to news about you both that I got from Every Black Life Matter. Charles sent out the email today, and I quickly reached out and said, hey, would love to have you two on the show. And Sheeba, I know you're going to be going to India soon. So thank goodness we were able to throw this together Tuesday night. And let me start with the usual first question, and we'll go ladies first. You kind of already answered part of it. Where were you born and raised, and where are you now? That kind of thing. A little bit of 411 about Sheeba George. Go.
So born and raised in India in an island called Andaman Islands, and at a place called Port Blair. That's where where I did my schooling and then went to do my nursing and then moved to New York. And from New York, eventually landed in California in 2003 when we got married. Right now I work as a case manager at County Hospital, and that's where I am.
Yeah, well, my condolences that you're in California. Point. Legal immigrant. Right? Exactly. Yes. And as I rant and rave on my show over and over, legal immigrants are great. They are often the most patriotic Americans there are, unlike some fellow lazy Americans who don't recognize and realize what we've got here. You come here for a better life, and you don't want to turn us into a lot of those other places people are trying to escape from. So, Koshy, your background.
All right. I too, like my wife Sheeba, I am from India. We are both from a place in India called Kerala, which is the southernmost state of India. But I was born and raised in Kerala and throughout India. Actually, my dad had a job which took him to various places. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, which is basically the equivalent of the CPA here in the United States. Worked in India, and then in 1991 left India for the Middle East. I was in Abu Dhabi and Dubai and traveled a lot around the Middle East working for multinational corporations and the Big Four. And then in 1996-97, I came here to the United States and started my career in Chicago. Came here on an H-1 visa and been here for almost 30 years now. Providence brought me here to California in the year 2000. And I've been here since then. And the last 17 years, I've been in my own practice as a CPA here in the United States. Took my CPA license and decided to start my own practice.
So I'll be contacting you to help me with my taxes. No, and also in the kind of a joking lines, because my audience knows I can never pass on lame puns or weird observations. I'm not hearing it as much now, but I said to you via email and posted on the Every Black Lives Matter channel on YouTube, they did an interview today, released an interview with you about what we're going to talk about today. That there, I thought you sounded quite a bit like Dinesh D'Souza, but I'm not really hearing that here now.
I am honored to be connected to be linked with somebody who is so far more a significant person than an accountant.
Now I'm hearing it. Just there, I heard it. Did you hear it, people? Did he sound like Dinesh, or am I just being weird? Right. At any rate, let's get to the serious stuff. The EBLM email shouted out about it across my 12 plus social media platforms because this concerns me. In short, an issue of dealing with a neighbor, a not so nice neighbor. I recently, I think it was September, did a couple shows on neighborliness, tuning into Walls's, one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. No, stealing from your neighbors to give to others is not neighborliness. Well, that's not going on here. Instead of me further defining the letter, Koshy, do you want Sheeba to go, or do you want to discuss the situation first?
Well, I can start, and then my wife is welcome to join in and give her share of what's been transpiring. Essentially, Joseph, this has got to do with something that started about 4 years ago, 30th of November, 2020, to be precise. Our neighbor was very upset that we were taking down 2 palm trees on our property. We had to take them down because of roof rat infestations, because these roof rats were jumping from evergreen pine trees onto the palm tree and then getting onto our roof, and then we were breeding up there, and it was a racket. My wife's a nurse, And those days during COVID, she was working crazy. We couldn't sleep in the night, all the rumblings up. I travel in my profession around the globe, even within the United States. And so I was grounded because of COVID. So was she. We were at home, working from home. And she said, hey, why don't you take care of these trees issue? So I called a local arborist. The guy organized to come by. And that was the 30th of November. And they were out there doing their job, and our daughter was at home, distance learning because of COVID. And I was preparing breakfast. I had a call. I had a knock at the door. I opened the door. It was this guy, our neighbor. And he started off with profanity, started abusing me a lot. And I said, what happened? Till then it was, hello, how are you kind of a thing. And then he threatened me. He said, I'm going to make sure that you will lose your CPA license. I'll make sure that you're only fit to mow lawns and flip hamburgers. And I'm going to put you in jail. And he said all this and kept on abusing me. I was shocked. I said, what is wrong? Which side of the bed did this fellow get up from? And then my daughter was standing beside me. She got all rattled. She was a preteen at that time. She got all rattled. I said, Dad, what's he saying? Why is he putting you in jail? I said, don't worry about it. I shut the door, went back to making breakfast and, quietened her down, and then went to my office, with the very room that I'm sitting in, my home office. I have an office about 10 miles from here, but I haven't been able to go there as often as I would have loved to because of this fellow. The impact of his behaviors continuously that had on my daughter. So I was forced to work from home a lot during the last 4 years to build her confidence up, because suddenly I found that a kid who was very confident and was in Girl Scouts and was swimming and, involved in all kinds of outdoor activities, suddenly started internalizing and going into a shell. She would wake up in the middle of the night, all frightened. I had to hug her and say, she's fine. She said, you're okay, honey, you're fine. Because of the kind of behaviors that this man was showing. Just jumping forward, around 21st of February of 2021, he brought his SUV up to her. She was standing on our driveway and taking pictures for a school project. And the kid was frightened. She ran into the house and said, Dad, so I would take his name, so-and-so is scaring me. And I was shocked to see my kid so frightened. I have never seen this child ever frightened. She's our only child. I was shocked. I said, and before that, he was giving us a lot of grief. He used to keep on using profanity and abusing me. I wouldn't bother. It was like water over a duck's back. Well, let him do whatever he wants. But the biggest problem, Joseph, is he's a lawyer, by the way. He's a lawyer and he's an ex-Marine. He makes sure that this entire neighborhood is frightened of him. We kept a friendly distance, all that, fine, hello, how are you kind of terms. But this guy, he was very infuriated because of taking down those trees, which are on our property. We have a single family home. There is no HOA at all. And we have every right to take down a tree, which is a problem for us, which of course I got a permit later on as well. And from then onwards, he has been constantly giving us grief, calling me all kinds of names, calling me a cure, this, that, constantly. And, can you imagine kids being exposed to all this? It's horrible. You can't go to work, you come back, he's standing there playing Freddie Mercury's Another One Bites the Dust and, keeps on increasing the volume just to get to our nerves. Anybody coming to help us, he would say, who are you? Get out of this property. I'll sue you, which is what he does. He's got so many spurious lawsuits against me and my wife. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to get into the lawfare aspect of that, because that also ties with what's going on with the left, with Trump, not just Trump, RFK Jr. and others, all these legal games to keep you on the defensive and cost you money, try to bankrupt you. Before I go to Sheeba to discuss it further, again, this was hastily put together, so I'm a bit foggy here, and I normally don't record this late at night. Normally I'm just watching some mindless TV to try to calm my mind down so my OCD doesn't kick in when I go to bed and I can actually get to sleep. But I forgot to ask, what is your actual connection with Kevin McGeary and Neil Mammon and every Black Lives Matters?
Kevin and Neil decided to have me as their organization's accountant.
Makes perfect sense.
I'm the accountant. Before even they were so nice and generous about doing a video about our incident. I have approached the secular media, Joseph, for the last 4 years. They have shut their doors on me. I have approached the local newspaper. They don't want to help us because we belong to a community called Indian Americans, which are not very important from an electoral standpoint. And there are a lot of Indians here, but we are still not a significant number. And so they don't care. So if anything like this had happened to an Oriental person, let's say Chinese or Korean or Jewish or Iranian or Arab, they would, or Hispanic.
Yeah.
They would jump on it. But because it's us who are suffering, they don't care. They just wish that we would just disappear.
And you know what? I think another angle here is too, Kamala, as I call her, the Kamalunist Indian descent. She's focusing on Black now, trying to imply African American, which she has no descendancy of, but moving away from Indian heritage there and her time growing up actually in Montreal, Canada, not the US. So I think they want to just not stir that up, because then the issue of Kamala as Indian descent might enter in there somehow too. But Sheeba, as Koshy said, you were well within your rights. He got permit. He wasn't doing anything wrong, improper, illegal. Has this guy been equally abusive towards you also?
Oh, absolutely. From day one. Initially, in the last 20 years when we lived here, we've tried to make peace with him because someone is bad, but he's your neighbor. You want to be, nicer to him. So every time we see hi, and then he would ask me medical questions about his lawsuits against medical legal questions. So that was the conversation. So I tried to rationalize with him after he started abusing us. Hey, why are you doing this? Can you not stop this? And then he would go on barrage of using foul mouth and calling me all kinds of names. And not just that, but even during COVID time when I would return back from work, he knows, because he's constantly using the binocular to watch us 24/7. And still to this day, he does that. Every move of ours, he's out there. He would know exactly what time I leave, what time I come back. And he would make noise. He would block me from entering the easement, mock and call names and laugh and ridiculous. So it felt like we have to be so scared of this guy because he's attacking us. And then it was never a peaceful moment thinking about getting back to a home, where home should be where everybody finds peace coming back to work. But this is like coming back to your home. It's like you have to face this bully who's constantly bullying us and intimidating us. A nightmare. It became like a total nightmare. We cannot, reverse our car. He's standing there and blocking it with his car.
He literally has cased you out, not just stalking you, to be
Correct.
able to, does this guy not have better things to do? Apparently not.
Apparently not. Yeah.
Go ahead, Koshy.
Many residents have fled this neighborhood because of him. Other Indians, other Asians, Chinese, Vietnamese people. The thing is, if you're weak in English, he has an upper hand on you. Now, in our case, when we try to reason with him, he says, I can't understand your English. So he doesn't even allow us to.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Anyone hearing this or seeing this on the behind the scenes, you are more fluent and articulate and understandable in English than some of the moron neighbors I've got who have been born and raised and lived their whole lives here.
Well, here's the other problem that he thrives on. Let me just mention this. It just came to my mind. What he does is, you see, he knows Asian people are subdued, generally. Take, for example, the Indian subcontinent from where we come. We were ruled by the British for 300 years, okay? We had colonial rule on us, and that's oppression for a long time. So it's been carrying on in our genes. Our parents, they all grew up being afraid of the white man. Believe me, the legal immigrants in our country, even now, are afraid of the white man. And so he thrives on that. And he hopes that that works. And it works a lot. Believe me, it works a lot. And he's been doing this to a lot of people. Many people have fled this neighborhood. Even we left for the sake of our daughter. We wanted to put our home on sale. He would not allow that sale to happen. The whole idea is to treat this whole lane as a Guantanamo Bay lane where he practices his waterboarding. Let me tell you, this is akin to waterboarding. Systematic bullying, racism, harassment. And you know what? Neither our police, nor our district attorney, nor the courts, nor the state of I have been all the way up to the Attorney General of California, Honorable Rob Bonta. He knows. They don't do anything about it.
I don't know that I'd call him honorable, but that's my personal opinion. But anyway, yeah, Sheeba, what city is this again?
San Jose, California.
San Jose, because again, now like Koshy alluded to it, and in the EBLM email, they mentioned several city officials to reach out to and say, and I agree with, and I emailed them today, this has to stop. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. It's absurd. And apparently he is badgering and bullying all of them into submission also. But I previously mentioned being on Dr. Jennifer Matthews' Criminal Justice Corner, and we talked about, and this will lead to a question, give me some grace here, more setup. We talked about Hill, the Miami Dolphin wide receiver, and also I brought in Reese Witherspoon and Justin Timberlake. Their run-ins with the law. They all relate in that they have this, don't you know who I am? I'm special. I'm better than everyone. I have more rights than you. Your rights don't matter. Only me, 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 me. So the serious question, because I'm more of a journalist than these idiots on the mainstream media will ever be, I'm not formulating an opinion or a contention or an allegation or anything of that sense. But in my mind, is this indeed really racism, or is this just some lunatic moron to issue, but using the racial slurs and that as part of his intimidation, like with the Hill, Reese Witherspoon, Justin Timberlake? It's, don't you know who I am? I'm better than everybody else. And what I have to say must go, and to hell with everybody else's right. Could it at all be that he's just this impaired person and using that as part of the intimidation?
Well, if he was a mentally impaired person, I mean, yes, he does behave like a like mentally unstable.
Mentally unstable. That's the word verbiage I was looking for. In my opinion, that's what it sounds like, right? But again, I'm not there. I don't know. I can't read his mind. I've never met him. But please, yeah, it sounds like a mentally unstable neighbor that just goes off the handle all the time.
But yes, but he's practicing law here, right? So
should know better.
If he's a mentally unstable, then he should not be practicing law. His bar license should be canceled or debarred. He should be debarred, because if he's using totally racial, he calls us like all, like when my nephew visited with the totally unaware of what's going on, and he said, "Go back to India, you blighted people," and a lot of other racial epithets. It was like totally jarring. But that time he didn't realize that we had a camera that was capturing, a security camera that was capturing everything, conversation that he was making. That's why we could use it in the court to, get a restraining order. But combination of I think this is more of a narcissistic behavioral issue, and a person who thinks, I'm an ex-Marine, I'm a lawyer, so I'm above law. You guys all are below and beneath me, and you come from a third world country, and you guys all should follow what I tell you to.
Thank you. That is perfect. That is again, this is hastily put together. I hadn't thought that is a better explanation. A narcissistic disorder here that's going on. So, Koshy, but the restraining order doesn't really do a whole lot because, again, him being a lawyer, he is working within the system behind the scenes to try to undo any lawful and honest justice-seeking methods that you're engaging in.
Yes, this guy, he feels as a person who is white, he's of a superior race. Now, let me read to you a letter that the gardener working nearby wrote to me. And I'll read from the letter. I've sent you a copy of this as well. This is what he says. He is a very racist person and has been problematic towards me. He has insulted me many times, telling me that us Mexicans are pigs and that we shouldn't be alive. He has also made comments such as calling us wetbacks, and I've made these insulting comments towards my sons and I, as well as saying he's a lawyer and says he can make these comments because he believes he has the authority. The many times that I've gone to work, I am in fear he will make these comments again, and I do not feel comfortable or safe being around him. That's a Hispanic gardener. Here is a letter to me by a contractor who I had hired. He's a Japanese gentleman. He says, he is a very obnoxious person. Mr. So-and-so claimed that this is his private road and demanded with profanity that I move my vehicle to another location. He had come to see me. He continued to haunt me with profanity and my car even after I moved my vehicle closer to the subject, that is me. I was completely overtaken by this monster of a person. He was deliberately harassing me. He had come to inspect our home. So anybody coming to our home, any of my daughter's friends' parents, he would harass them. And so all of these things systematically affected our child. Our child is a lot better because I had to give up everything, Joseph. I had to give up my practice as a CPA to bring my daughter's grades up because she was born in this country. She was born in this very county. How will she face life? How many years more will I live or my wife live? She has to face this. This is her nation. This is not, India is not her nation. We came from India. We can always go back if you want. We are American citizens, but she won't come back. She's here. This is my nation, Dad and Mom. My biggest concern was, how will my daughter grow up and live here and function? Towards that end, she's a lot better now. Her confidence is back up. Why? But I had to suffer immensely. I have lost a lot of my money towards legal fees. My practice, my profession has been affected, mental peace, but we are strong people. We are people of faith. We do not let these things to get to us, but it does affect us. It does affect us. It has affected us in many ways, but we don't let this. My other neighbors have caved into him. I'll tell you the story of a Vietnamese gentleman, American gentleman living here. He's a retired senior manager of a very prestigious Valley-based company. It's an iconic company. Everybody knows Hewlett-Packard, HP printers, anything to do with Hewlett-Packard. It's an iconic company. This gentleman is a senior manager he was made to come on his knees. Why? Because he did not want this guy, this bully did not want this person to speak to me or my wife. And as a punishment, he was made to fall on his feet and beg for forgiveness. We didn't see this, but other neighbors saw it and they said, Koshy, this is what he made. So none of our neighbors talk to us anymore. Our neighbors put their head down and walk away the moment they see us. These were neighbors who were talking to us before. They're afraid of this guy. So the whole idea is to isolate us and to make us feel cornered. And we know all that's happening around it. There's so much.
I am the author of a book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. This man is engaging in a form of terrorism.
Yes.
He wants to terrorize you in hopes of manipulating your behavior, as terrorists always do. Now, again, personally, knowing others involved that know more and have been involved in this a long time, I believe you. I'm with you, but here I'm trying to play the journalist role more than any of these network morons would ever do. I've not heard his side, although I don't think I want to. But again, whether it's racist motivated or just narcissistic disorder, and he wants to control everyone, whether they be white, black, or any shade in between, or pink polka dotted, I don't know. Frankly, I don't care. And when I say that, I mean that it matters not what his motivation is. What he is doing is what is really a matter here. And his motivation behind it is like hate crimes. You stab someone, I don't care what your motivation is. You're guilty of assault and you need to go to prison. So whatever his real motivations are, I don't know. I don't care. But again, this has to stop. It's clearly out of control and beyond any logic, reason, any reasonable person would be able to deal with. And again, like, you know, he's trying to terrorize you.
Yeah. Let me narrate to you an incident. Now, this is not just a lawsuit. He doesn't file lawsuits just against me and Sheeba. He files it against the police, the code enforcement of San Jose, its employees, the fire captain of San Jose South. Anybody who stands with us, he files a lawsuit against them. And he includes all of them. Now, let me give you an example of what he did to one of my friends, a good friend of ours. She's Caucasian, by the way. She could not, I sit on her nonprofit board. And I narrated my story to her. She said, Koshy, I'm going to come and speak to this guy. After all, I'm Caucasian too. And believe me, we have got tremendous support from our Caucasian friends. Our Asian friends are frightened to speak to us, but our Caucasian friends, we thank God for them. They have come around us and they have been the greatest of support, Joseph, throughout this. Because we don't see color. We were never raised, neither me or Sheeba were ever raised to see color.
Martin Luther King Jr. talk about a content of character. And clearly, with what this guy's going on, and again, the motivation, he will attack any white person is not on his side. So again, I'm not convinced it's solely race. Maybe that's mixed in here, but this narcissist is just the lawfare. Sheeba, I had a question for you. Now it's left my mind, but where can this end other than us, all of us, speaking up and speaking out and telling those in San Jose in power, elected by the people, to stand up, speak up. You can't be intimidated by this idiot engaging in this. I don't care if he's black, white, or a purple man from Mars. This is principles, not personalities. Right, Sheeba?
Right. I totally agree with you. These are principles, and a lot of our friends, family members, co-workers have been watching and been supportive, and everybody is in shock that we are living in a neighborhood and people have asked us to move out, which we tried, and we were not successful because he stopped 3 buyers from buying a house.
They saw that nut and he wanted no part of your house. No, I can understand that.
Yeah. He put nails on our driveway so that nobody, whoever drives, gets there.
Do you have security footage of him doing that?
Yes.
But yet he's not arrested and charged for it.
He got arrested and he was charged and he bailed himself out. So there's 2 criminal cases against him, but it doesn't stop this man. He quietens down for maybe like a few days, then he comes up with new ideas, and then the spurious lawsuits, like barrage of lawsuits.
Yeah.
Now the latest one last weekend was that I'm doing illegal business from my home.
Yeah. I'm certainly not a doctor. And even if I were, I haven't examined him. But again, I'm hearing a lot of patterns of narcissistic disorder and rage disorder combined in this one time bomb that's going to explode.
Very true, because so it's very scary because we don't know when he's going to explode. Authorities, the ones we have voted for and elected, like the district attorney, like the mayor has been his team has been very supportive, but nothing has solved these issues. They are, I think it's beyond their limit. I don't know right now because the judges or the district attorney and the state bar, they need to get together and stop this kind of nuisance and harassment. This is bullying and intimidation because our life is in danger. We don't know when this rage is going to explode and he resorts to something that is
right, when it may turn from verbal abuse to physical or potentially fatal abuse. Koshy, you kind of raised up your finger. Do you remember the point you wanted to throw in?
A couple of things. One is, so I was telling you a story about my friend one whose nonprofit board, as she runs a fantastic nonprofit, and she came over and she pointed a finger at him and said, "Don't do this to the George family. What you're doing to them, they're wonderful people." He used that finger pointing to doctor his video, and he got a bench warrant issued against this friend of ours, this Caucasian friend of ours. And this Caucasian friend of ours got arrested. She had to wear an orange suit, and I didn't even know about this until a friend of ours told me what happened.
Because he knows how to game the system.
Well, she's innocent and the case was dismissed. But
and especially in California, with as wacky as all the damn laws are out there because of the idiots like Gavin Grewscum and tackling Kamala when she was DA there. I cannot imagine anyone seeing California wants the Kamalunist to be president. I just don't get it. But I do want to kind of move on and wrap it up. Indeed, people are supportive, but we need them to do more. We need them to step up and speak out to push those in San Jose that are elected officials to be willing to step up and speak up and do things instead of cowering in the corner afraid of this guy.
Yes. Recently, he told the criminal court, he's being tried for 2 criminal cases, and he's been using the demurrer and different techniques to avoid being charged. So he came up with a 95-page document about me and the district attorney. Can you believe this? He says, me and the district attorney, one of the district, we have 25, 30 district attorneys. This is a huge city and county. He says that me and the district attorney are having a bromance relationship going on, and therefore the DA should be tried for prosecutorial misconduct, and therefore the 2 cases should be dropped against him. Can you believe this?
Can, because when someone doesn't have the facts and actual law, constitutional grounded law and right, they have to personalize it. He sounds like the quintessential leftist, Saul Alinsky. Personalize the target, attack personally, gaming the system. So, Sheeba, what would you like to add in the form of wrapping this up?
This needs to stop. It's in the hands of the elected officials who can, and the judges and the court systems and the people. They all need, because bullying and intimidation, should not be allowed. And state like California, we should not live in fear. This is a free country. America is a free country, and everybody has a right to live and to speak and to survive. And we are hardworking, tax-paying citizens. We should not be living in this kind of a fear. So our government officials should take action, stop this man from doing what he's doing to destroy our peace, debar him, because otherwise he doesn't stop.
He's had no real consequences. And as I said on the Criminal Justice Corner show about the Tyreek Hill, or I didn't say it, I forgot to say it, I had like a kind of a joke. I don't care if it's Tyreek Hill or Lauren Hill, both black, or Jack and Jill who went up the hill. See the pun there, right? But white in the nursery, right? I don't care about the skin tone of any involved here. It is supposed to be blind justice, and none of that is supposed to matter. And it's clear we're not getting that here. Right, Koshy?
We're not getting that at all. And what is most difficult is, Joseph, the fact that we're trying to raise a teenage girl and trying to make her successful and be able to go to college. Right now, we have lost all our life savings to legal fees. What is this? I mean, all of our life savings are gone.
Lawfare, yes.
Yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is our only child and she has no future beyond. I mean, I can't even bring myself to think that we are trying to raise her as a wonderful American citizen. And here she is weathering all these things during her impressionable years and being subjected to this kind of horrible situation. And the parents are not able to spend adequate time with her because we are worried about our finances. We're worried about the agony this is doing to us. You know, we have seen many people flee this neighborhood. We also left, but we have come back because we are running out of money living in an Airbnb.
Yeah, leads me, Sheeba. I don't recommend GoFundMe. Have you considered a Give, Send, Go, which is a Christian site, to help with your legal fees? Do you have anything like that in place? Are you thinking about it? Is EBLM potentially considering doing something of a fundraiser to help with your legal fees? Or
we haven't thought about it. We have not.
We're just struggling with all this. We just want this thing to go away and be left in peace.
Well, this person does not sound like the kind of person who ever lets anything go. Again, the narcissism and the rage and just an inability to be a reasonable human, understanding that, hey, the neighborhood is a biblical community and we got to try to get along. Yes. And this isn't as if you ran over his cat with your car. You cut down 2 trees on your property.
Well, then from that, it moved to the fence. Now he has an issue with our fence. He has an issue with our house. He wants the house red tagged, all kinds of malarkey. He keeps writing letters to the city on his letterhead, on his law office letterhead, alleging all kinds of nonsense. And then the city officers come here. They have taken pictures of our house all the way down to the basement, upstairs. They said, Mr. George, your house is in the clear. The whole idea is to harass us.
Again, more terrorism, intimidation, badgering, bullying, like you used the word. Sheeba, make sure, I think you need to put up more cameras, right? Obviously, you need to keep documenting and, frankly, have EBLM's website person put up a site about this and socially post. He needs to be socially shamed to be brought down. I mean, if he's at or on your property or he's in the street, he has no legal right or of assumption of privacy. Therefore, any films you have of him going off, you have a right to post. They are your property, and escalating to that is the only suggestion I think I can have that can potentially shame this person into healing at least a bit.
You know, that's the reason I don't mention him by name.
Please don't.
The authorities know who he is. All of the authorities, you know, he's on the car post and the CLED system of the state of California. The police have all records about him. They know who he is. Everybody knows. Everybody who needs to know in authority, who needs to know, they know who he is. But they won't do anything. They won't do anything about it. We are like expendable citizens. We are like our sufferings. Because what is happening to us, we don't want it to happen to anybody else. That's why we are coming out into the open and saying, this is happening, guys. Don't run away from it. Stand up to it.
That's important, right, Sheeba? Your story just happens to be the one we're talking about today. That, again, dropping Thursday, October the 10th, recording Tuesday, the October the 8th. I'm going to rush it out to get this out. Your story is repeated all over the place, but they have no help in getting their story out like I'm trying to help you. So indeed, this isn't just about you. If there is some racist piece of crap, and I don't like the racism, because we are all, racism is a cultural Marxist construct from not very long ago. We are all one human race. Regardless of our skin tone, we are subcultures and subclasses from different regional areas, but we are one race. As I talked with Kevin on the show that dropped today, Tuesday, the October 8th, about that too. We've come to, unfortunately, accept the term racism. And if there is indeed a racist out there, this isn't about Koshy and Sheeba, who happen to be Indian immigrants, who happen to be darker skinned. This could be happening to white people, Asian people. Yep. You mentioned Korean, right? I don't care if they're pink polka dotted from Uranus, right? It could be anybody. This is a matter of principle. Yes. Not the skin tones. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up and thank you.
We all bleed red. We all bleed red under this.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, Joseph.
All right. God bless.
God bless.
God bless.
Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at TheLibertyBeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, no fancy high production intro or inserts, at least yet. Just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help